Our guest today is Jamie Egan. After successful underage stints at Bohemians and Cabinteely FC,
January time this year was the toughest time in my career, 100%.
Jamie signed his first professional contract for Bristol Rovers at 16 years of age. With a handful of senior appearances under his belt in the UK, Jamie shares his experiences in professional football, with all the highs and lows included. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, lads.
No problem. No problem. Your first podcast.
First podcast. Haven't even done a lot of interviews, to be honest with you, but
How do you feel?
bit
Do you feel
nervous.
nervous? Are you nervous?
Probably more nervous than I'd be at most games, to be honest.
Yeah, that's.
100%.
I find that so intriguing with
Even,
professional
Like
players.
driving up in the car, you're going, "Oh, what am I going to say?" here?"
Oh
Like,
my! Isn't that crazy?
yeah.
Isn't it? Like I find that mad.
Honest to God, even like in the house with my man, Dad, I was like, I haven't been this nervous in a while. Like,
Wow,
just for a chat.
that's crazy.
But
Insane, man.
That's crazy. The power of the boys, huh? Do you want the one on top?
Well, here's a story. When I was doing my B license, Tom O'Connor pulled all of us and said, if any of you guys are nervous going out to doing a session here, we had a Irish international, has over 50 appearances, didn't say who it was, over 50 appearances, played in front of 80,000 people. And when he went out to do his demonstration for the license, he froze and asked to go off the pitch. That's how nervous he was. And he's playing in front of 80,000 people. I was like, what?
it's just out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
isn't
I think
it? You're just
so,
not
man,
used
yeah.
to it.
What you're used to, what you're not used to.
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Well, we had the same thing when I done because we done like staff interviews as
Yeah.
well, and when I knew it was like my day, I was like, oh
Yeah.
like this is it. Like I have to do something here. You kind of like you get lost in the thoughts, don't you? You kind of like overthink and all.
Yeah, no, I actually do understand it. Considering people don't see like what's going on
Yeah.
behind the scenes and stuff, like they just see a decent looking setting or whatever with all the lights, and not that it's too big in here,
Yeah.
but it is intimidating. So I do understand it. No, I do understand it. But I still do think it's a bit mad though.
I think it's always the thought of doing it.
Probably so. Like within
already
10
just
minutes,
talking.
you won't even.
Yeah, already just talking.
Yeah,
about
you won't even
More
realize it. It
relaxing.
feels like a conversation.
Yeah.
But right, so we seen Wikipedia had another disaster. According to you told us before we hopped on live that Transfer Market said you were 5'8".
5'8".
Yeah,
up
super
until 2
brilliant.
weeks
So the stats have been absolutely brutal. So can we get that sorted, everyone? So it says here you're born the 1st of July, 03.
That's wrong.
That's false.
26th.
What is it?
26th of June, 03.
Okay, 26th of June. So your birthday's coming up next.
2 weeks.
Is it a Monday? It's a Monday.
Monday, yeah.
Monday, because that's when
Monday,
everyone's
that's
back in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Everyone keeps
I was gonna
saying
say,
it.
how did you know that?
Everyone's back in. I'd be terrible for dates, but everyone's like
Yeah.
back to 26. We were only talking about it earlier. Thinking,
Yeah, I
okay,
remember
it's
you
2
telling me,
weeks
yeah,
till everyone's back in ish. Right. How we try to start the guest podcast, right? You got to settle in.
Yeah.
Get you breathing, relaxing, answering some quick fire questions.
Fun questions. Right?
All right. This is the most
I'm
important
ready.
one. Daly's behind the screen to everyone watching. So is King Man. You got Jason Tatum on the camera. Right. This is the most important one though. Daly's buzzing for this. Rank in order. Chocolate, sweets, crisps.
Chocolate's 1.
Yes.
100%. Sweets, crisps.
My man.
That I'm
So
not
my
mad about
man-
crisps. I wouldn't crave crisps ever.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you there. I'm spot on with you. But who's a killer came in was like, a crisps gotta be up there.
No.
Gotta be up there first. You go in, he's talking about the different packs you'd get and stuff. No, chocolate. What's your favourite chocolate then?
I don't know. Kinder Bueno, but I like a twirl, and I know a twirl's boring.
Twirl.
But sometimes I just going to get a twirl.
Interesting. King, you came in with a crunchy before, didn't you? Like a
No,
good crunchy. Did you?
no.
Who said crunchy? Doyler did. Oh, okay.
I'm not mad about crunchy.
No, too
I
much.
actually rate
too
a
much.
crunchy. No, I actually rate
not
the
enough
crunchy.
chocolate.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Too much
Yeah,
going
but the
on.
honeycomb. I love the honeycomb. No.
Yeah.
We're going for chocolate. We're not going
Yeah,
for honeycomb.
chocolate bar,
Jesus. All right, lads.
Agree.
Very
Twirl is all
passionate
chocolate.
about that.
All right. Okay.
No, you're right.
Okay,
I agree with that.
Okay. Question number 2.
Yeah.
The best player you've played against, and how we normally say this is, they could have been like tops on the day, or it's just like, wow, he's a player before you even step out on the
I'm
pitch.
going to give you 2, and it was in the same tournament. The one where probably the highest now, Shabby Simmons. Unbelievable, obviously, what he's doing now. PSG, and then revived his career at PSV a little bit. But on the day, didn't really lose the ball, but I wasn't blown away. Won the same tournament, a lad, Karamoka Dembele, I think I told you about before. This lad was unplayable. Like, we were only 13, 14. Couldn't get near him. Like, just so sharp, so good. And I don't even know where he is now, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
But
do you know
I
anything
seen him
about
play.
him?
Was that at the
This-
Academy
the
Cup?
Academy Cup,
Academy
yeah.
Cup, yeah. I
I'm
seen Xavi Simons at the Academy Cup.
Yeah.
Jeez, you must have been playing, Jamie. If
yeah, I
that was the
scored
case.
in the
Yeah.
final. Just popped that in there.
Right.
Last goal I've scored, I think. But
Yeah, jeez, we need to pull up something on Carmoka and Dembele in that one.
Yeah,
was,
Dembele's clips from
Yeah.
that Academy Cup went viral, like massively. So every like compilation video that came out after, everyone was like, "Well,
Was
he's a
from
bit
that.
tops." Was actually from that video.
Yeah.
But he also played in the Hibernia Cup as well.
yeah, that's
For
not
Joey's.
long
He
after,
won. Yeah, he won.
And then he played in Scotland, didn't he, with the Scottish team
on the Astros.
on the
I
Astro
remember that,
against
and he
Ireland, and he nutmegged McAnuff.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that for Northern
Aaron
Ireland? Oh no! What's his name?
was,
Geordie? No, Geordie, isn't it? Jordan. Yeah,
Jordan McAnuff.
Jordan.
The younger one. Plays for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Jordan. Yeah, super.
He's with Derry now. I
He's
think,
with Derry
actually.
now. Yeah, correct. Yeah, he
yeah.
he megged them.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was a joke.
silly, like,
Naughty.
silly. It went viral. That's two good players.
Probably have to go with them too.
Two good players. Yeah, no. Interesting. Right, G, do you want to ask one?
Yeah, definitely. And it's the third one that we always ask. Who is or was your favorite player to play with? Now, the reason why I said was is because I think people like they have players that are in their senior dressing rooms they love, but there's some players like when you're 14, 15, you're like, oh, I absolutely love playing with him, and that's the best like football days of my life.
Yeah.
So you can go both ways on that one.
Again, I'll give you two, and I'll start off with one you don't know. When I went on loan to Hereford, the lad Ben Pollock, we were like that off the pitch. Now he's 25, and he just took me under his wing, and he was just centre half with me. I don't ever remember having an argument with him on the pitch.
Yeah.
Just playing beside each other. Just you just love playing with someone. He was definitely that. But the other one, Josh Keeley. Obviously, I'm mates with him now, but playing behind him just made you feel calm. Like I never forget it. And then just seeing the way he's obviously developed now, I've seen it for years. He's, in my opinion, the best keeper in the country. Yeah, sort of our age group, without a shadow of a doubt.
When did you play with Josh?
Belva.
At Belvedere?
Yeah, at Belva.
He went under the radar, I think. And then I know he was in Pats, and I remember he didn't even did he kid out for the final when they played in the Aviva
No,
and
I
won?
don't-
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think he was in a
think he
suit, wasn't he?
I think
Yeah.
think he played once for Pats against Finn Harper, maybe
Yeah,
twice. I don't know.
mad.
but
And then he obviously got the huge
move
move to
to
Spurs,
Tottenham,
whatever.
yeah.
I remember you were chatting to me about him before that,
that.
and you were saying how good he was, whatever. I just heard the name. His brother's Connor, isn't it?
Connor, yeah.
Also a
that's
legend,
right,
Connor Keeley.
Connor Keeley's his brother?
Yeah,
Are
I
you
know that.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Ah, lads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Connor's 6'6", the outfielder, and Josh's, well, he's still 6'3".
Yeah,
Yeah.
jeez, Connor's a lovely guy.
Is he
man.
6'3"?
I think so now.
Good height.
He's definitely a bit taller than me now.
Good height.
So,
Yeah, but I just thought it was mad how he just swept
On-
right
yeah.
under the radar. And then everyone I've actually spoke to, because some people have mixed opinion on goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Some people are always like unreliable, whatever. I was asking, because remember last off season when you were in, Shawnee was in,
Yeah.
all the boys, I was like, what's Josh like?
yeah.
And they're like, I've only played with him once, but I was playing, I was like, oh my God, he is unreal. Like,
Yeah.
they just were stunned about how good he was, because maybe they didn't know
I
too much about him.
don't
whatever.
understand how, like, he's been in a lot of Ireland squads. I don't understand how he's not been just the number one the whole way up.
Really?
But mate, look, obviously a little bit biased because he's one of my best mates, but I think he'll go on to have a good career if he keeps going the way he's going. So,
That'd be interesting.
yeah.
Very interesting. We were trying to get him in the games.
Yeah, and he won't come.
Yeah, bald sound, Josh. Joe, I cut all that from the podcast. We're not giving them any clue. Not playing in the games. Right. Next one. Favorite holiday destination? You were only away. What's your favorite? Or do you have a preference?
Lasagna, it's called, in between Alicante and Murcia. It's like, the best way to describe it is Dublin with a sun. Honestly, you go over there, everyone's Irish bars. My dad knows the people that owns the bars, and it's just like, it's not mad or anything, it's chill. That's probably it. But obviously I was in Marbella not long ago, and that was good, but that was heavy.
Yeah.
So
Do you like a heavy holiday? Or
for
not?
about 3 days,
Yeah.
and then that's too much. But no, if I had to go somewhere in the morning, I'd probably go to Lasagna. But where I'd love to go to Vegas one day.
Yeah.
I'd love to go
Just
to
as an
Vegas
experience.
with my dad and my brother.
Oh, nice.
I think that's
I'd
fair. Yeah,
love to
that's a
do
good
that.
show. It's a good show.
Yeah.
Again, how long would you last there though? Because that's
couple of days.
Yeah.
Coupled with one less than Marbella.
That's a long old flight, though.
Yeah,
that's a long
the
old
thing.
flight to
Jet
go for
lagged,
2 days.
everything. And then straight out
Yeah.
to the casino.
No
Yeah.
Vegas and stuff. I know this is a bit random that we're chatting about this, but Vegas intrigues me because I think I'd like to go just to see it, but I don't think you'd fully be able to immerse yourself unless you proper dove in for like 2 or 3 weeks. Because like all the stuff that our dad went and stuff, and he was saying that you're in the casinos, there's obviously no windows, and they're just pumping fresh air in, so you just never sleep your around. Like that is just fascinating to me. I feel like if I was in there, I'd be checking the time every so often. Just be like, am I in the Matrix or am I not? Or like, am I in control of my life right now? Because it just seems like you'll just lose everything.
I think if you go, you have to have a go. Like there's no point in going and sort of half doing it. I think you have to go in and do it. But yeah, I'd love to do that one day.
Agreed. Last cue.
Last of the quick fires. Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Straight out.
Boots, clothes, everything.
Yeah.
Nike. 100%.
You need new Tiempos though.
Yeah, I need new Tiempos.
I thought his
badly.
tempos are fresh.
No, they are fresh. They're just
But
destroyed. Like
months old. I can't get them anymore. Size
No.
10.
Tiempos have not been pushed anywhere near as close to the Mercurials and the Phantoms recently.
Honest to God, I think they released about 10 pairs size 10. You go on the day after they're gone.
Yeah.
It is. It's
Can't
mad.
get
They're
my
actually
head around
very hard to find these days.
So hard.
Very, very hard to find.
But
And they're very nice.
yeah, so comfy.
Underrated, boo.
But I might have to go to the Phantoms.
Phantom's
easier
also
to
very
get.
nice. Daly's uncertain on them. He's got like, how would you say it? How would you describe your feet, Daly?
Tight.
In one word. Well, that's 2 words.
I
So.
have really wide feet. Really wide feet. That's why I wear the
Right.
Tiempos.
Yeah. Okay.
Like-
Yeah, they are very like.
They spray your foot, they mould into your
They
foot.
do. Yeah. Then there's a little bit more room. The Phantoms are a little bit more
A little bit
closed in
tighter.
at
I
the
have
top.
them in studs, the ones that you have.
Oh yeah.
And they don't feel too bad, so I might have to go down that route.
Nice colorway as well.
Yeah.
Right. Let's get into it. Before we go into, like, you're still young,
Yeah.
still 19. In 2 weeks, you turn
2,
20, so you're getting into the old ages.
Yeah.
But before we get into like your trajectory and so on, probably the most intriguing thing about you're Irish.
Yeah.
You played for Wales.
Yeah.
Explain that scenario.
So my mom's side of the family are Welsh.
Right.
So like my nanny is Welsh. And to be honest with you, I can't remember how it came about. I just remember my dad coming in one day saying he had an email. Do you want to go? And I was a bit like, I'm not Welsh. Like, had that feeling. But then, like, I've never had a sniff of the Irish team ever. I've never even been to a training camp, whatever. And I just thought to myself, I think they were going to Bulgaria, playing Northern Ireland, Bulgaria, Luxembourg. And I thought to myself, lads from Liverpool, Leicester. I thought, I have to do this. So I'd done it. And then invited back to another training camp. But then it came to a point where they were going to the Euros. And I needed to get a British passport. And I couldn't get one.
No.
But to be honest with you, it didn't feel like I could imagine it would feel to play for Ireland. Like, you dreamt of playing for Ireland since you can remember. And I can imagine that feeling walking out there. And it just didn't feel like that. So in a way, probably best off anyway. But an unbelievable experience. That was kind of my first exposure to the top level. And then all of a sudden, like, I was with Cabo at the time, and obviously none of the lads knew who Cabo was. All of a sudden, you go into training, you think, I'm on the same level as these lads, sort of thing. So, yeah, an unbelievable experience, and I'm glad I done it now.
What age group was it?
17s.
17s.
Yeah.
Good year.
Yeah.
Good year.
That's
So
what
17
starts.
Euros.
The
That's a
Euros,
real
so-
strong international age to get started in. Did you find the Welsh boys were receptive or no?
Majority, yes.
Yeah.
There was one or two, maybe here or you a little bit, but I think they were kind of like that with everyone. But I still talk to some of them now. Just really good, down to earth lads. Yeah, really receptive. A lot of them are English anyway, and playing for Wales, and it was kind of like more intrigued at this Irish lad. They probably never met an Irish lad at this point. But no, good group of lads, and the staff are really good at me and everything, and haven't really got a bad word to say about that experience.
Class. I think it's just a bit mad.
Yeah, no,
It's a very random, like,
Very
you hear
random.
the Irish English
Yeah.
Irish, the Irish Welsh at under 17s.
Yeah.
You're playing for Cabo. I think it's so
Exactly, yeah.
random.
It's
It's
mad.
cool. It's a cool story.
I was going to ask, do you sympathise with the likes of Declan Rice and Jack Grealish?
No.
Declan Rice definitely not. Because
Yeah.
he played for the senior team. Jack Grealish, and where again he probably, I don't know if he was getting in the English squads or not.
At underage,
Yeah.
I don't think he was,
So
if I'm not mistaken.
Ireland come calling and he sees international football. But again, I'd imagine for him it just didn't feel right,
Mm.
and that's why he went back. So yes and no, but I think the FEI or whatever have to realise sometimes as well that if there's a choice between an Irish lad and an English lad and they're the same level, go for the Irish lad. That's just my opinion. But like we've got some of my favourite players for the Ireland team are English. Like Josh Cullen is one of my favourite. He's English, so at the same time you could be missing out. But no, I don't sympathise with Declan Rice at all. You can't play for the senior team and kiss the badge.
Yeah, I was going to say,
And
yeah,
then,
there's certain boundaries, isn't there?
No. Like I watched the game, he played USA and he was playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's playing for England. But no, don't sympathise with him.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Yeah, I'm the same opinion of you. I think if there should be probably a little bit more internal regulation from the FAI. But I understand as well they have a job to do as well,
Exactly.
and the FA have a job to do, even with Tom Cannon as well, getting that call.
That situation,
Yeah, no, it's dicey stuff. I do think like probably players aren't educated enough as well.
No.
Like I can't see anybody in Declan Rice's corner giving them warnings that England could come knock him one day.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. It's probably something that they're not at all prepared for, and then it's a very sudden decision. It's like speak to your parents, speak to a couple of coaching staff, generally who are going to try to get you whatever one favours them, and then it's very robotic.
I'm not being bad, but if Ireland and any country in the world came calling, you're probably going to pick Ireland. You grew up here, you have an Irish accent, your family, you've dreamed of it since you can remember. You're going to pick the country where you're from at the end of the day, regardless. That's what I think anyway.
No, it's interesting. And you come from a football family background.
Yeah, so my dad went to Wrexham as a kid, and then he came home, like found it hard over there, which has obviously definitely helped me going over because he's sort of been through it, and he's helped me a lot since doing it. And then he played had 2 spells at Longford over here, was with Pats and was with Kilkenny. So yeah, I've always just remembered being involved in football. I don't remember probably 2 going to watch my dad, and then he was coaching at Parmesan United at the time, and I just remember being in there from 2 or 3. I can have little visions. So it's kind of, and then we have an older brother as well. He played. My sister likes football. My mum likes football now. So it's always just been football for me. Like played Gaelic and hurling in school, and I actually liked it, but my dad doesn't like Gaelic. It's always just been football. But
Sound Sean.
yeah, exactly.
Interesting. I was going to ask, when it comes to, let's say, coming from a dad that experienced the hardships of going across early, you went across early as well. Was that always, let's say, a support system that you always referred back to with, like, let's say, did he always come back in with like little pieces of advice on the hardships that you're having, or was it more so, I'm trying to explain this correctly, like he would essentially, I'm trying to word it correctly.
I kind of get what you're saying. Like, did he sort of give me advice or tell me what to do type of thing?
Yeah, did he come to you with advice, or did you come to him?
Was it reactive or proactive?
Yeah, exactly.
Honest to God, when I'm in England, my dad rings me 5-6 times a day, and he's always done that to the point where you're going, he's ringing me again, like. But I know everyone says it, but my mum and dad have been brilliant, like just so supportive of everything. And like when I first went over there, the second week of pre-season, I was 16, 17. I'd done my groin, and long story, they told me I'd be out for 2 weeks, and it would be 8 months. So you can imagine how hard that would have been. My dad was brilliant with me. He's never ever put pressure on me to play football. Like if I gave up football in the morning, not that he wouldn't care, but he wouldn't question it. He'd make sure I was making the right decision. And he's just always supported me, giving me advice when I asked for it. Like that after a game, he wouldn't. Did you ever hear stories of people and the dad had grilled them after a game? Never. And I'd ask him, how do you think I played? And he'd probably be too nice sometimes, but then I'd say to him, no, seriously, how do you think I played? And then he'd tell me, and it's been so good to sort of have that, and obviously he does a bit of coaching as well, so I've always been involved with him in terms of that. Like, I always remember as a kid, I was 3 years younger than the teams he was coaching. I was training with them, and he's been brilliant. I definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And then my mum as well, again, she didn't like football growing up, and then again I got injured at Kevin's. I remember when I was 12, dislocating my knee, and then my mum was bringing me to all the games. And then she got into it, and then since then she's always supported me in that as well. So now going to England, I had to do extended diploma in school and everything. The school's always been important to my mum, but the two of them are brilliant with me.
It's refreshing.
Yeah,
Refreshing to hear. When obviously you played underage, give us a brief overall look of it, because you did go over quite young. Obviously now with Brexit or whatever, that wouldn't have been the case. But what was your general pathway like up until you made the move from Cabo?
So it was Cherry Orchard growing, well, Palmerston United very young, then Cherry Orchard for years, then I went to Kevin's. I was with Kevin's then for the majority. Then I went to Belleville for a year, but then the League of Ireland came in, if you remember, the 15s. And went to Bray, wasn't with Bray long. And then I went to Bowes, back to my old Kevin's manager. And then from there, Cabo, and then sort of lockdown came in. I was involved with the first team in Cabo, that's how I went out Connor as well. Close with Connor. That was really good for me, I think, before going over, being around senior players and obviously Pat Devlin and Eddie Gormley, who are mad, but it was really good to be there. And then the way I got over was Graham Coughlin was the first team manager at the time. He was an Irish lad, and then I sort of just got a trial through that. I actually done my work experience in school, which was a trial. They let me do that, in fairness to the school.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's down here, isn't it? Did they have that down here?
No, I went to
No,
work
it's
experience
different,
alone.
it's
That
different,
probably is. Yeah. But anyway, done that, went back for another week, and then they offered me a contract. And even at that point, I wasn't sure whether to take it. And I think obviously the Brexit thing was in my mind as well. And the club just felt like a right fit. At the time, there was the 23s, the 18s coaches were really good. You could see the progression. I think a quick story for you is when I went on trial, they were third in League One under Graham. They played Ipswich. I think one of the lads in the 23s started and 3 others were on the bench. One of them came on. So you can imagine me going into that going, gee, there's a pathway here. So it felt right. So I'd done that, and that was kind of how that came about.
That was Bristol Rovers, yeah.
Bristol Rovers, yeah.
Yeah. Just in case, because obviously I knew who he was talking about. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But because I know sometimes, typically when players go over to England, they either stay with that one club or they get in the door and then they can jump across to various other clubs. I was going to ask, you went into a senior dressing room young, and I've went through a couple of different managers and clubs. What would you think are the main differences between playing senior football and, let's say, top amateur level football? So, like, let's say schoolboy football, like Cherry Orchard, your Kevins, your Belvos.
100% the winning aspect.
Yeah.
So when you lose and you go into a senior changing room, there's people throwing things off walls, there's people having a go at each other, because especially like the loans were great for me, because this is people's livelihoods at the end of the day, and they're not earning crazy money. Some of them are on decent money, and when things aren't going right, they're going to tell you they're not going right. And as much as all my loans are brilliant with me, if I done something wrong, they tell me. And with schoolboy football, it's very much, you care, of course you care after you lose, but then you go into the car park and you're laughing and joking again. It's not really like that at senior level, what I found. As well as that crowds. I remember my first loan with Hereford, and I remember walking out, and I think there was 2,500 there. But to me, that was like, this place is hopping. And there's just the buzz you get off it. And then our second game we played on the Tuesday, we played Kidderminster, who they were playing West Ham in the FA Cup the week after. They went on that good FA Cup run. But it was a local derby. And we beat them 2-0. That was probably one of my best memories from football.
Yeah.
It felt like the place was bouncing. I remember there was fog in the day, and the difference of that, and then all of a sudden you go back to academy or school football and it just feels like dead.
Wow.
Just almost like you're struggling to get yourself going for a game.
Killian said the exact same.
Yeah, it's mental. Like when you go from playing in front of crowds, you don't have to get yourself up for a game. You walk out. Like sometimes in the warm up, you just don't feel right. Then you walk out and you hear a big scream,
Mm-hmm.
and it just gets you going. And then you go back to, obviously played when I was coming back from injury last year. Played a couple of 23s games and stuff. Remember we played in Cheltenham Stadium, and the stadium was empty, like, and it was just weird. It's just a weird feeling. But yeah, they're probably the main two differences. But definitely the reaction after losing is probably the biggest one.
Yeah, livelihoods, man.
Yeah,
People just forget that entirely, don't they?
yeah, 100%. Like people have bonuses as well,
Yeah,
which, you know, some lads would have a decent win bonus or a goal bonus, and because they're not earning huge money, that extra couple of £100 goes a long way.
big time.
And you know, you might get a bonus for getting in the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
little things like that, and that goes a long way for people, because at the end of the day as well, in the National League, they don't get paid from June till we go back.
Yeah, in
So
the
they-
off-season
yeah,
period, they don't
They don't
make a
get
cent.
paid. So that's another thing they're worrying about coming to the end of the season. I'm
Yeah.
not going to get paid. Like, so yeah, like you said, livelihoods. People probably forget that, and fans probably at that level forget that as well.
Uh-huh.
Like they think people don't care, but trust me, they do.
In the National League clubs you were with, were they all full-time?
No, Hereford weren't full time, but they trained 3 mornings a week. I think the first year, which was weird for me, because obviously I was still a scholar when I first went.
Mm-hmm.
So I was training with Bristol Rovers on a Friday, and then travelling up to Hereford every other day, which was a bit strange.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like fitness levels, you don't really notice it. Like these lads, as much as they're playing in the National League, they look after themselves. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them, like majority of the older lads, have played 300, 400 appearances in the league. These
Wow.
are all like
Quality.
what an experience. I mean, one of the centre halves at Hereford I played with, I think he had 300 appearances in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm only 18 at the time,
Mhm.
going in my first. That's just little bits of advice, and I was kind of just like, I've always been like a bit of a sponge where I'll just try and soak up as much information and take as much information as I can, and hopefully try and use it.
Mm-hmm.
Centre half, obviously, there's a lot of specific things. We spoke about something. I think it was today. Was it? We were speaking about it. We were talking about
Yeah.
the Kieran McKenna, Corey, and Dad
Yeah.
was talking about us. Yeah. Do you remember anything that were like you're like that resonates with me straight away? Like one really practical but simple piece of advice. It generally is the simple things that resonate. But
One with like a goal kick or something like that, and you set up, and Chief was his name, and he said to me, "You know, you don't always have to jump." As in, and I was kind of looking at him going, "Watch me." Sometimes you jump, and I remember early on they just nudge you, and then you're off balance. He said sometimes just grab your arm, hold them there, and head the ball. And honest to God, it's sometimes you don't even jump, and it sounds mad because you're looking at this lad, and he might be an inch taller than you. But strikers don't even, I don't think, actually want to head the ball. I think they just want to bump into you and make it hard
they just
for
want
you.
to affect.
Exactly. So obviously there's times where you have to jump and that looks great and you get over, but he said you don't have to jump every time. And that was a little bit of advice, and it just kind of made it so much easier in a way. Yeah, that'd definitely be probably one thing.
It's a good piece of advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quality,
Good
man.
piece of advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find I always love asking pros this, because on the coaching side, I'm always afraid working with pros that sessions are either too complicated, not enough of specific advice. What do you look for in a coach? Not a manager, but a coach. What's your ideal training session?
I love detail. We
Yeah.
were speaking about this earlier.
Yeah.
The sessions I love are all about obviously intensity. They have to be intense, but little bits of detail. I was speaking to Morgan earlier about a coach we had in Rovers, the 18s coach, and it was about defending crosses. And we had a lad in particular. He's looking at clips, and he was on his heels. We done 30 minutes of band work on our toes, and then went into a crossing drill, and then the crossing drill progressed where there was another phase. It was a cross, and then he defended a 3v2. And to this day, I've trained with the first team obviously loads of times. I've done the Wales camp. That's my favourite session.
Yeah.
On the Astro with the 18s and the 23s, and I'll never forget that session. So yeah, I'd say I love detail. Some people don't.
Yeah.
some people just want to play football.
Yeah.
And it's particularly, I think, attacking players, they just want to get the ball and
Give us the round thing.
and express themselves. But no, definitely what I love is little bits of detail and little. Because sometimes I think, obviously, I'm not there yet, but I'm at a decent level where it'll be little things that will improve me, them little 1%. So when people see that, like when we're training and there's little things about, like the footwork today, like planned a little bit more, little things like that, and you just kind of, as many as them as you can get, that's what I love.
I think, yeah, absolutely. Compound interest is a good way to describe it. I think that correlates with what we see in our sessions. Do you believe that?
In what
You look
sense?
at the games we have tomorrow, how many defenders is there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Loads.
Oh, we always say that.
Yeah.
Loads. Fullbacks, centre halves crave more
Little things
sessions,
like that.
more details.
Yeah.
Attacking players just gives it.
Yeah, just give us the
Gives
ball.
it. Let me do
Score.
whatever. Some of them obviously chase.
Yeah.
Especially centre forwards, I
Yeah.
tend to really like go after
Yeah,
finishing
100%.
specifically. Everything else is just like, ugh, yeah, whatever. Like very few will come in and go, I really need to affect the play or
Yeah.
whatever. Like Promise sent this big, huge text to me at like 11:30 at night one day. Or like one day I was saying, it was literally a couple of days ago, I think Monday night. I was like, I need to work on these.
Yeah.
And that was it. We like chased it or whatever. But for centre halves or fullbacks, they know
Yeah.
exactly what they need to work
Yeah.
on. They know they've got no choice. They have to work on it. While, like you said, I think attacking players very much are just, they play off the cuff, they play off instinct, but
I
very
think
few
that's
want to
why-
refine that.
Yeah, I think that's why they're attacking players though, and why we do the ugly stuff. I think people just have that in their game, and I think they need it in their game. Like, I mean, look at Jack Grealish. We've seen him obviously on the drink the last few days, but I think he's just that type of character where he's relaxed on the pitch and he's relaxed about everything, and that's why he's. I think he's unbelievable.
Do you feel so, like, you're playing centre half, you're doing all the dog work, you're winning the headers,
Yeah,
tackles, mouthing, doing everything that
yeah,
most
Yeah.
defenders have to do. Do you find if you've got a wide player or centre player or centre forward who's taking the piss,
Yeah.
like there's obviously good players who can turn it on, but this you find one or two players they never turn it on or they're struggling to turn it on. Does that roll you up because you're like, I'm doing everything I can, everyone else is doing everything they can, just this lazy thing just can't get going? Do you find that frustrating?
nothing frustrates me more.
Yeah.
And arguments what I've ever had with strikers is over stuff like that. Simple things where your back's against the wall and the ball's on this side and you're only going to clear it down that channel and he's standing over there. Or you play a ball up to him and it doesn't stick. It's okay, everyone takes a bad touch, but at least chase after. Things like that frustrate me, but then they go and put the ball in the back of the net and we win the game and all is forgiven.
I was going to say, where do you draw the line?
I think you know.
Yeah.
I think everyone, when everyone starts to see it, then you know. And then I think the manager knows and he probably won't play.
I had a great story from an ex-Irish international talking about El Haz Diouf in Blackburn, who's under Sam Allardyce. Basically, 8 players in the Blackburn dressing room, this is in the early 2000s, came into Sam Allardyce, knocked on his door saying, you got to get rid of this fella. He is driving us insane in the training room. And Allardyce goes, give me 20 minutes. Pulls the lads back into the room. He called it like their war room.
Yeah.
Pulls up all these clips of El Haz Diouf winning fouls, scoring goals, and says, guys, you just got to be patient with it, because this is the reason why we're going to stay up in this league.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, all right, fine.
That's the thing. Like, they're the ones that win you the games. I mean, did you ever hear the Adele Tarap story with Harry Redknapp?
No, don't think so.
I possibly, I could say it anyway.
It was Neil Warnock.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Wasn't that Harry Redknapp in QPR? Oh, was it? Yeah, well, anyway, he basically said to him, you're going to play on Saturday, and if you don't play well, you're going to play the next Saturday.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
if you don't play well, he said to his defenders, do not give him the ball in his own half. He said to him, you're not getting the ball in your own half. He said, this lad's going to win us the game, get us out of the league, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we went for
Um,
promotion, didn't
And I mean, I think we've all watched Adele Tarap clips.
Yeah.
What a player.
Yeah, sicko, yeah.
But yeah, there's some players like that, but when you're like that, you've got to be good and you've got to back it up.
Uh-huh. You've a big love alliance with match winners, don't you? Because you work with a
Yes.
ton of the Charlies.
Oh, yes. Loads. And they know it as well,
Yeah.
which is fine. That actually, before we started working consistently with pros, I had a big issue with them.
Yeah.
Not these specific players, but players in general
Like
like that.
that,
Used
yeah.
to do my head in, because you look at them in the flash, especially with social
Yeah.
media or whatever, it does my head in. And only now that we get to work with a lot of them,
Yeah.
and not Charlies per se, but players who are attacking and more so the flair based and less about listening, more about just giving the
Yeah.
bleeding thing, let me do my business. I have grown to respect them an awful lot when they back it up. And again, they're not going to back it up all the time. Right? You're going to have off days, whatever. But those that have the ignorance, that's the only way to describe it. Ignorance that keep getting on the thing and make a mistake, get a chance, miss it, and then just pull one out of the bag. There's beauty in that, I think. And I only now, when you get to see how they kind of work in the flesh and stuff, you're like, okay, I get it. But there's a lot of people who think they are that match winner and they're nowhere near it. Yeah. That infuriates me. The lack of self-awareness. We speak about self-awareness every single podcast, I think, but it just does my head in. But yeah, now that we see it like in the flesh pretty much week in, week out. Even the 10v10 game we played the other day, a lot of lads like throwing arms like, oh, I'm not getting the ball. Then they get on it, bang. Yeah. You're like, right, grand. Grand. As long as you keep doing that, it's fine. And again, you need to draw the line where sometimes...
But they're the players you pay to watch, aren't they?
That's the whole thing, isn't it? That's the beauty of football.
And they're the ones who get the big bucks because they can do what they can do.
And again, but they get, everyone's like, oh, they got all the upside, but they get all the downside as well. You look at who's a good example. Grealish last year. Oh, great example. Big man of Villa, comes into City, new system. People doesn't obviously have the same numbers because I don't believe he should be playing anywhere near like he did at Villa in City. No, but gets all the down, but now he's got all the highs. Yeah. So now he's got to live and understand. Now he knows how to live both. He could probably make better decisions, like 100%. And understand what's better for him. I just think it's really interesting. Yeah. The different personalities in football. It's really cool. Really, really cool. Your injury, right? When you went over at 16, is that right?
I think I was 16 going 17.
Yeah.
I think.
Wow. You get into pre-season. Do you go straight into a senior pre-season?
This was the COVID season. Okay. So I remember my first week I went over, we were in groups of 5. Running in groups of 5. And then we went into the second week, I think, where we were in the group. And I think it was on the Monday. My mum was actually over at the time. And we had our initiations that day. I'll never forget. And I'd done the session, trained really well, was really happy. And I said, I'm going to do a few extras here. Just doing clearances. And I remember just hitting a clearance with my left foot. And I fell over, but it was my groin. And then I remember thinking, oh, that's not great. I'm limping here. Like, but anyway, I went in then, and this was a show, to be honest with you. I was limping for about a week. They didn't really know exactly what it was. I went up to the first team then. He told me I'd be out for 2 weeks. He said, no, grade 1, he'd be fine in 2 weeks. Didn't scam me, nothing. 5 or 6 weeks went by. Went back up to him, oh no, he'd be grand in a couple of weeks. Just give me a scan. But anyways, then a girl, Leanne Kelly, she's the first team physio now there. She came down with the 23s because they got put back down with us. And she took me under her wing. She got me a scan. It turns out I think I was out for seven months. And was told 2 weeks. So my first year was pretty much done. Now they were brilliant with me. I remember going straight back into 23s games, played Bournemouth, Oxford. Like that was the club had a really good structure in the academy down with the 23s. Lee Mansell, who I went to Gloucester eventually with, they're all brilliant with me. So in a weird way, as bad as that sounds, that injury, that probably wasn't my worst. It was probably the one last year was mentally tougher because I had, and again, at that time you're still in school. Yeah. So you only have 1 day off a week. You're only off on a Sunday. You're in on a Wednesday in school all day with the lads. So, of course, it was bad, and there was times where I thought, well, I just come home. But the one last year was definitely harder, believe it or not.
What happened last year?
So last year, I went on loan, and the way I am, and a lot of footballers are like this, we played the National League. You play on a Monday and a Saturday, Monday, which...
Why?
It's Easter weekend. How on earth can you... No, not Easter. I don't even think it is Easter. It's a weekend anyway. How on earth can anyone expect to play Saturday, Monday? So we played Hereford on the Saturday. We won. But I remember playing a pass up the line in the first half on my left foot, and I felt, that doesn't feel good.
Oh, God.
But I was never coming off playing against Hereford.
Yeah.
No chance. And then I could barely walk the next day. Played again.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Got through the game. Didn't train until the Thursday. They said, are you okay to play? Yeah, I'll play. Because that's just the way I am. I think now, even looking back, if I had stopped at Hereford, I probably would have been out for a couple of weeks. But if you put me in that situation again next season, I'm not sure that I'd stop. Yeah. Because that's just sort of the mentality that I have and I've always had, where unless I can't walk, I'm gonna play and I'm gonna want to win.
Yeah.
But anyway, we done that, and then again I was told it's not too bad, because I think they thought, how on earth could he get through 2.5 games if it's that bad? But anyway, I got the scan and it turns out the tendon was pretty much hanging off the bone or off the whatever. it
Tendon
is.
where?
In my groin. My other
Groin again. The other groin.
Groin again, other groin. So that was 5.5 months, and obviously, like I said, it was different. I wasn't in the college anymore, had more days off. But I think what helped me a lot, I was living obviously with Trevor Clark, and he was sort of in the same boat. Things happened with him, and the two of us were in a like sort of a similar situation. We played golf. I was like with him every day pretty much, and that was fine. But then all of a sudden, then he went back to Shamrock Rovers at Christmas. We both went home. They gave us time off for Christmas. We were both injured, but he never came back. And then it was like, oh, like, what do I do in my spare time now? I wasn't back playing yet. And I remember that was probably January time this year was the toughest time in my career, 100%. I remember just, now you go into training and smile on your face, making lads laugh, just do it. But then you come home, and I remember just not being myself for about 2 weeks. And again, I'm saying about my dad ringing me. He could tell through the phone. He probably asked me for about a week, what's wrong with you? I know something's wrong with you. I just wouldn't say that. And then one day I just thought, oh no, I've had enough. And I told him. And honest to God, within probably 2 or 3 days, I felt fine again. Just from speaking. Not fine, but like I was thinking, oh, well, I remember someone over here came and said, would you want to come on loan to the end of the season? I was going, oh yeah, I'll just do that.
Hey everyone, sorry for disrupting the podcast. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe on YouTube.
But then all of a sudden, 2 or 3 days, I didn't want to do that, because just talking to people, and I think it's a lot better now, I think, with footballers and talking about struggles. But I go back to when my dad was over in Wrexham. I think he could call his mum and dad once a week. He had to pay for the phone.
Yeah.
And no one would talk about stuff like this back then. But yeah, so that was definitely the toughest injury. And I think the uncertainty as well of being my age, I was over the 3 years, I had 2 long-term injuries. Hadn't got a niggle other than that.
Mm-hmm.
Literally 2 long-term injuries. The second year over there, didn't have an injury, didn't miss a game, didn't miss a training session. But just 2 unfortunate things. And then, yeah, that was the one last year was really tough to sort of come out of. But fine now, refreshed, back in pre-season. And the way I am, I've had loads of setbacks, like with injuries, particularly even when I was a kid, dislocated my knee. But I've always it's almost like been a reset button. And I'll tell you, when it happened this summer was when I came back from Marbella and we done the session. And I got back in the car and it was almost like reset. And from then, like today we trained, I went to the gym and I thought, I haven't done enough today.
Yeah.
Honest to God, but I knew I was doing this. I knew we were training in the morning. I said, no, relax. But that's just the way I've always been. I've always, even on days off over there, if I didn't go to the gym, I felt like I wasn't doing enough. And that's just the way I've been, because to be honest, I've never been the most talented player ever. Like growing up playing for Kevin's and all, majority of them boys were better than me when I first came. But then all of a sudden when I left, I caught up a little bit, because that's just the way I've been. And I think that's, I don't know where it comes from, to be honest. That sort of mentality, that work ethic. Maybe my mum and dad again. You see how hard they work. But no, yeah, so hopefully I'm over the injuries now and that reset button, and I'm excited to see what happens next year with me.
Yeah, it was great, man.
Very well described.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very
I
nice.
was-
I think a
I
lot
was
of people
in
get a lot of value out of that.
Yeah.
That it's not sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, no,
Of course, everyone
100%.
says that, but it's nice to hear it from a
Yeah.
pure man. Very interesting.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Where does fear come into this?
Major.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you who I spoke to in that period of that, Joey Dunn. He's actually the assistant manager at Newport, but he was at Bristol Rovers before, and my dad played with him.
Nice.
He said to me, what's your biggest fear? And I kind of looked at him and I said, I don't know. And he said, is it failure? And I thought to myself, yeah, of course it's failure. That's all I think that's the root of majority of people's problems. It's that fear of failure, particularly Irish kids going over, because you think, oh, I'll come back and people are going to look at me like I'm a failure. Come back to the League of Ireland. Now, the League of Ireland, I think, is a lot better now, which is a good thing. But failure is pretty much all of it,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Well, what would be your definition of failure in your current situation?
Not having a career. I'm not saying I need to play in the Premier League, but this is what I want to do, and it's what I've always wanted to do. So, not having a career, not being sort of satisfied with what I've done, because there's a lot of luck in football, and I might not have the best career ever or whatever, but if I can look back at the end of my career and go, done everything I could, made some good memories, made a bit of money, then I'll be happy with that. I'll be satisfied with that. I don't think I'll ever be satisfied when I'm playing, because I think that's just the way we're built and the way we are. But yeah, probably having a career and being satisfied to a certain extent with what I've done.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, man. Because even when you were talking about not speaking out to your Bristol Rovers,
Yeah.
Bristol Rovers teammates, I was like, where'd that come from? You didn't say anything to them. You had to confess to your parents. And I don't know, even just with the reading that we're doing, we always hear a lot about fear, like a lot of internal fear about fear of failure, but also fear of being open and really who you are and what struggles you have. Even people that are probably experiencing the same things to the same degree, they're all just putting smiles on their faces.
Well, I think that probably comes from, like, I wouldn't even spoke to my mates about being that down, because I think it comes from, oh, he plays football, that life's great, how could you? I'm in work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But what people don't realise about football, you're working 24 hours. Because when you come home, you can't go out and have a curry, or you can't go out and have a few drinks. You go home and it's alright. Get on the foam roller, make sure you get good food into you. Have the recovery biscuit in the ice pack and in the bath, make sure you get a good sleep. And that's what people don't realise, and it's it's the best job in the world, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't pick another job if you asked me to. But it is very difficult, and people don't probably realise that outside of football. I think when you're in it, you realise that. But I think unless you're really in it, it's hard to sort of grab it and grasp it. Particularly for, I think, Irish lads moving away and stuff. Because it makes it harder to switch off. I mean, there's only so much golf you can play without nearly smashing a club. And there's only so much.
Oh, the Kinger's the man to ask about that.
But the same, there's only so much PlayStation you can play.
Yeah.
And then sort of what do you do? But I can't even remember the question, to be honest with you.
No, that was well answered, man.
Yeah.
I find even when you ask questions, I'm the same. When people ask me questions, I just go down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
But I think that's even what people need sometimes as well, man. Because you'd be surprised what you uncover when you actually let the mind flow for once.
Whatever
It's great, you know.
Whatever it do. I'm obviously, we spoke. You were nervous doing a podcast.
Yeah.
You're probably not nervous at all
No,
now, are you? Yeah,
no.
that's just a conversation. But like a conversation like this, right? We like to think you know us decently well, because obviously you work with us for the last 2 summers.
Yeah.
But like, have you ever had a conversation like this?
Only with my dad, probably.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Like,
But you're gonna say it in front of thousands of people.
exactly. I know, and if I probably hadn't, like now, when I look back in that conversation I had with my dad, I'll never hold anything in again.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I'll never ever hold anything in again, because it was, you thought, how do I get out of this? And then all of a sudden you speak to someone, and then you start speaking to more people, a little bit your mum, and obviously I spoke to Joey, and then it's like, this is easy, and it's like a weight off my shoulders. So why do we not do it more? But it was so hard to do it. I remember being on the phone, I sat in my car with my dad, and I didn't even want to say anything to him, like, and he's my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm having 5-6 conversations with my day.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it definitely made me realise that just speak to people. And I know everyone says it, and I think people are getting better with it, particularly men, obviously. But yeah, just speak to people, regardless if that's football, anything. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I found when people, especially young males, talk about, let's say, feelings or emotions, I think one of the main blockers as to why they don't is because they think their problems don't equate to things that should be talked about.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I think a lot of people think they should speak up when, let's say, they have like suicidal thoughts or something that's on the like the mental health aspect.
Yeah.
Whereas, for example, even with some things that like I've heard from players and even some things that I've experienced, I was like, probably isn't worth bringing up. You
People
know what I
care,
mean?
yeah.
Probably just isn't worth bringing up. But as you kind of were talking about it there, it is quite empowering when you get that weight off your shoulders a little bit, and you can just, you know, kick on to what life actually is.
Exactly.
You know, I just think that sort of stuff's fascinating.
Yeah.
But do you find in clubs, especially with your experience so far, is there anything taught from staff to young adults, especially because you're still 19, man? Like, it's so young.
Yeah.
Like, is there anything being said to you about how to look after mental health, how to look after your own thoughts, your own insecurities, your own doubts, etc.?
To be honest with you, I don't think I was in the best place for stuff like that. And obviously that's a shame, but I always speak about my first year over there with the 18s and the 23 structure that we had and the good people that were there. There was that, like, obviously me being out injured, there'd always be someone coming over to speak to me. How are you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm grand. No, how are you?
Oh, nice. That's cool, man.
You'd always have, no, not every day, of course, not every day,
No.
but little things like that, and coming into the physio room and having a laugh and a joke, which is that was great, but probably wasn't in the best place last year for things like that, and obviously that's a shame. And but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And even if you just pivot across to another really interesting question that I had just looking at your statistics and your information, you went on a lot of short-term loans, 1 month, 2 months I think was one of them as well. What's it like going to a club for 4 weeks trying to prove yourself, get appearances and learn?
Well, obviously the Hereford one was supposed to be a month. It ended up being 6 months, the first one. Then the Gloucester one again. They do what's called a work experience down in the National League. From there, so everyone does it for a month, the first month, and then the Gloucester one I actually extended, but then the injury happened. Yeah. But the one to answer that question, which was the most, is the Weymouth one. Fighting relegation at the time, a little bit sort of toxic in a way when you're fighting relegation, so that was difficult. It was great when you won, but going in there and trying to put a stamp on it, trying to build relationships in a month, when probably people don't even want to build the relationships because they're all they're worrying about is staying in the league. Yeah. That was definitely difficult, like 100%. But I kind of, and then obviously I went back to Hereford then to the end of the season, which again was a couple of months, and I knew the lads there, and that was great. But now the Weymouth one, the month loans are weird. You know, they obviously, a lot of when I was a scholar, a lot of lads were going on month loans to sort of the lower leagues. They are a strange concept, and it's kind of, when you say to someone going on loan for a month, it's like, what, play 4 games?
Yeah.
What's the point? But no, they are good though. They are good.
Yeah, it's interesting. Have you heard about any other players doing more loans?
No, actually, no.
Yeah.
I don't. It's probably not something that's spoken about massively though, is it? Like, it's
like Davey would have done one with Chester, played against him last year, and then he done Southend, I think.
Yeah, and he was in Oldham, is that right?
Or Oldham, sorry, not Southend. Yeah, so he would have done them as well. I think it's just a National League thing.
Cool.
Yeah, I think the minimum you get in a League 2, League 1 probably has got to be 6
Probably
months.
6 months,
probably
I'd
minimum,
say. Yeah.
because otherwise they'd be like,
Because
what's
obviously
the
the
point?
National League window is different. I think that's something to do.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's mad. You can get your foot in the door and you're gone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gone after a wet week.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Right, I think that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That
Very
was
well
really good.
spoken for a young man, Jamie. Like at 19, I swear he's like
Yeah.
I know,
You do forget the age.
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. Honestly, when I was 19, I was a fart, man. Honestly, fart. Like, me and Guy have been mates since we were 12. But honestly, man, and even you at 19, like, I knew a bit about you as a player, but I mean, just the mentality, like.
Yeah, different. Yeah. No, you're extremely self-aware for a kid by definition. Like, you're maybe not a kid, but you're still very young, very, very young. So it's an honor.
I think that comes from the injuries, to be honest.
Helps. Matures you quickly.
You got to mature, or else you've no chance.
Yeah, sink or swim.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Honestly, I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Really good. I think a lot of people will get an extreme amount of value as well from that. So for your first like official
Big interview.
podcast, it's really impressive that you spoke so well and how you've dealt with everything thus far. It's a privilege, and actually working with you, very enjoyable to work with you, because again, I'm obsessed with details, you're obsessed with details like a sponge. Even the sessions today, although me and Daly were blowing doing the bleeding, you were playing centre half with a Cagboo. Daly was launching in on your head and stuff. You were just like, it's good to be around, you know. So hope next year, obviously we're going to work together for the next couple of weeks, but hopefully next year something opens up for you and everything goes well, because people like you deserve a good break. And you're still young. Whether it happens this year, next year, time will tell. But that genuinely, I think that was fantastic. Really good.
Thanks, lads. Thanks for
See you at
having
work
me.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
See you in the morning.
Referee G.
Oh no, not
He's
again.
back. He's back.
I was going to give you a compliment, Jamie, because you didn't give me lip at all. And I saw your turn on Idemo right in front of me at the little shoulder drop.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
So can we pull that clip up when this is going up?
Pull that clip.
I was like, Jesus Christ.
Beautiful. Yeah, it was beautiful. Right, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, lads.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Jay.